The Chronicles of Narnia, The Horse and His Boy, chapters 12 to 15. The lion which he had seen was gone now, but it was clear that he was there because of the footprint, the big and deep footprint that he left, and there was something magical about it. Water began to flow in it, and Shasta had a huge drink. Then he became to wonder where he was, and he saw that he was in the land of the Narnia, and the big hedgehog came to him saying hello. And Shasta had told him all about the story that he had and about the huge attack of Rabbitosh and his 200 horses. Soon animals began to join him every minute, and the fastest of them all decided to go to Cair Paravel and tell Queen Lucy about the bad news. And the bad news was, of course, Rabbitosh and his 200 horses. The stag went, and they were ready. And soon the stag delivered the message to Queen Lucy, and the whole army came. And Corin was with them. And Corin was surprised and happy to see Shasta there. And Shasta finally managed to tell King Edmund that he wasn't a traitor but something like a double, and he had to hear all their plans, and he didn't mean them, and he would never thought of telling their enemies. King Edmund understood this very well, but told Shasta that he shouldn't listen that what was meant for other ears. So they were off to battle, and of course King Edmund told Prince Corin and Shasta that they couldn't be in the battle because they were too young. And I totally agree on that. But Corin, which was the more naive and brave of the two, wanted to be in the battle, and told Shasta that he would like him to come with Shasta to come with him too. And Shasta could do nothing but to say okay. So they did end up in the battle, and Corin was fighting like a man, and they had killing a Calormine. But Shasta wasn't a very good fighter actually. But still, they both managed to be alive, and though Shasta fell down, and though the hermit and Bree and Quinn and Erebus were looking at him through the magical mirror, they all survived very well. And they could really see that the Narnians had won this battle, fair and square. It was really good that they had won. And the weirdest thing was that people were looking at Corin and Shasta, and they were acting like if they were amazed. And I think that they weren't acting, but they were really amazed. And Shasta got a good farewell hug from King Loon, although he said that kids aren't meant to be in battle. And now we must go back to the horses and Erebus and the hermit. So they were watching through that mirror, and they were glad to see that Narnia had won. But quite after that, after a few days, Quinn said that the hermit has been very nice to her and all the others, but she's getting fat as a pet pony, and they must go to Narnia at once. But Bree didn't agree on that. Bree said to wait. and Erebus figured out why. It was because that his tail hadn't grew back, and he really wanted it to. Well, Bree didn't say that it was true. I'm sure that it was true. It was true that Bree didn't want to go to Narnia because he was ashamed of his tail. And then Erebus asked Bree something that she had always wondered, and that was that Bree always said what he swore by the lion and by the lion's mane, and Erebus wanted to know what that meant. And of course, Bree told her. It was about Aslan, and it was the lion that Shasta had met. All the Narnians swore by him, but just then, Quinn and Erebus's face changed, and they were like, oh, and they were really surprised because a lion, without making any sound, trotted over. And because Bree's eyes were half shut, he didn't notice. Quinn said he was so beautiful and she'd rather be eaten by him than by any other. But that lion wasn't someone like that. And of course the lion was Aslan. And he told Erebus that it was him that wounded her, and that was because the stepmother's slave that Erebus drunk her had the same scratches that she had because of her sleeping, and she had to know how it felt like. And Aslan said there was supposed to be another visitor coming, and they should be aware of it. After like 30 minutes passed, a trumpeter came and said, "There's Prince Cor of Arkenland." Well, I first thought that Cor was short for Corin, and I just thought they were talking about Corin. But when Erebus saw her, she immediately knew that it was Shasta, and Prince Cor was Shasta, not Corin. It turned out to be a very long story. The thing that's only important that's that Shasta is a lost son of King Loon and is a twin of Prince Corin, so he's now Prince Cor. Just the only point actually. And he asked Quinn and Erebus and Bree to come in and join him in Arkenland. And Bree and Hin were supposed to go to Narnia in the north, the Green North. And Erebus was asked to go with Prince Cor, which is Shasta. So it turned out to be like that. But Bree wasn't sure he really wanted to go because of his cut tail, and he was also gloomy because he wasn't feeling quite himself, and he didn't know, and he was afraid he wouldn't know all the customs or at least remember. So he looked more like a horse going to a funeral than a long-lost captive returning to home and freedom. And afterwards, when Erebus met King Loon, he was really friendly and polite to her. And of course, he was polite to Quinn and Bree just as he was polite to Erebus too. And they had lunch together. So after lunch, which they had like on the terrace, so they talked about Rabbitash and what should they do with him. And there were a couple of suggestions, but they really decided to just let him mend. And I'm not sure that was a really good idea. But now I think of it, I guess it is a very good idea actually. And they ordered to bring Rabbadash at once. And he was there standing in fury, and he just told that he wouldn't listen to such commands from barbarians. But just then Aslan came and said that it's good for him that he really listened to them, the kind kings. But he still said no. So just then he said that the hour has struck, and he turned into a donkey. Really, a donkey? How not cool is that? And Aslan told him to the order to get him a human again was to stand before the altar of Tosh and Toshban at the great autumn feast this year, and there in the sight of all Toshban. And of course there was a condition of Prince Rabbadash staying human. So that was, if he goes 10 miles away from his temple, he shall instantly be a donkey again. So of course he didn't do it. He didn't dare to do it. So that's why he was known as the most peaceful Tisroc after the Tisroc that was just living. Oh, so I guess he didn't live forever after all. Okay, so Prince Rabbadash ended up being the most peaceful king because he couldn't go on a war because of his 10-mile promise. So he was the most peaceful Tisroc, but people said that Rabbadash was, but people behind his back called him Rabbadash the Ridiculous, or after he died called him that too. So if you do something at school in Colormin, if you do something really weird and clumsy at school, you're likely to be called the second Rabbadash. So it's said that you shouldn't do it actually. You shouldn't do a really weird thing. And actually, it turned out to be Shasta, which was now Prince Kor, is the heir to the throne, and not Prince Corin. And it was said that it was a law. And I wonder what exact law is that, and if he's old. Well, I heard that Prince Corin is older, so I really wonder why. So years passed, and Shasta and Hervis sometimes fought, but they were good actually, and they were always used to quarrel and make up again, so that they got married to do it more convenient. And Bree and Win married too, but not to one another. And after King Lun's death, Kor and Aravis made a good king and queen, and they had a good prince that was remembered to all. And what is his name? His name was Ram the Great. Yes, Ram the Great. And he was the most famous of all the kings of Arkenland. So, yeah. So this is the real end of The Horse and His Boy, The Chronicles of Narnia, Book 3. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed hearing The Horse and His Boy, Book 3. And now I will meet you back with Prince Caspian. Okay, so thank you for listening. Bye.